Now, the work that exhausted me so much all week, because of my rib was just throbbing and spasming at one point. Um, I'm enjoying it though, I'm glad that it's the hard part because it's great. Professionally, is sometimes only in a professional experience can you learn something really hard. It's difficult to contribute the time, even if it's just 10 or 20 hours. Sometimes you're working on your own project. It's like I know other ways you gotta just resort to something. Feels like that anyway. And professionally, sometimes you don't know. I gotta do it this way, or I gotta figure out the right way, or I actually have to figure out how it's working. And so I'm working this GIS, geoinformation data kind of stuff with a leaflet and whatnot, and so that's good. Still, it was so stressful. I had to unwind with something mindless. All right.
Snake caught a toad the other day right here, and it's eating it alive. And the toad is still, its little throat is still going blah 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 blah. It's still breathing, still trying, and all it's left is his head and his little two arms. Are the only thing's not eaten by this. The rest of them's already down the snake's. You can already see the rest of them's in the snake. And this is nature. It sucks. It just absolutely fucking sucks. Because the day before, the toad was doing the same thing to probably a baby snake.
What does it mean that Gary's argument against willpower being the thing are these kinds of examples? It shows it's emotional, right? Right? Because that's a terrible thing. I totally fucking agree. That's terrible. It's not the pretty side of nature. Um, I'm never sure what is right or wrong, but if I find one animal attacking another animal, I, I have many times protected, you know, the prey. And but sometimes I've just watched it. I watched a bird have this amazing ninja dance with a moth. I totally thought the moth was going to get away, but it didn't. It was like 5 minutes or so, and all the moth. It was in the city. All the moth had to do was like fly up underneath and stay put in the car. Couldn't do that, but it could dodge the bird. It was obviously pulling some ninja tricks, but not good enough. And it was sad, just even a moth. Um, and that's an argument against willpower because the will to survive, that wasn't real. The will to consume, that wasn't real. No, it's just a hard truth of life. That part of willpower is that those kinds of will do happen often. It's evidence that there is will. Might not be pretty, but it's evidence that there is will.
And it's just disgusting. It's horrid. And yeah, so they don't like that backdrop to this little fantasy they're having about how they're Neo and they're gonna save everybody from being in the Matrix and we're all gonna live eating shit 400 miles deep inside the earth or something and we'll have a lot of good dance moves, but yeah, that'll be about it. Yeah, no big screen TVs. Fuck that. Fuck these fantasy Jedi bullshit. They're just fucking sadistic masochists. They're masochistic sadists. They're sadomasochists. Um, they're so desperate to validate.
I think you are because I think that that frog, when it was trying to escape, was using its willpower, and some of them do escape. And you're saying none of them have any choice, and none of them are going to escape. So you're the sadomasochist because in your mind, all their all their torture is inevitable, and their attempt to flee pointless. In which case, none should attempt to flee, and they'd all be eaten. That's the logical consequence of your idea.
They got to create a fake mission statement and a fake notion that they're doing something essential or vital, when clearly they're doing nothing innovative or interesting at all
Speak
except
of yourself.
a bunch of egocentric pretense of
Projection.
willpowering. You know,
Projection.
like there's such a thing. Like you don't have to have idea
Projection.
power first. Like idea power isn't
Projection without a
exactly what creates
difference. No
willpower. There's
difference.
no
Blah, blah,
willpower
blah.
without idea power.
No, it's
So you're
the
just,
same
you know,
thing.
you're just stealing the
Idea
end
power
product
is
and
willpower.
misidentifying its source, which is an idea
Yeah.
in your head. You
And
recognize that,
creating
hey, being a dumb
ideas,
drunk isn't much of a way to live a life, and then you say, well, maybe we can do something about that.
creating ideas, creating ideas is really the most powerful thing that the will can do because the ideas sit around and have an effect when you don't will. They just soak in, and once you have a new idea, they soak in and they have an effect on how you react, on your automatic reactions. So it pays a lot of dividends to create ideas with your limited will power. Will costs energy. Energy is power. Willpower is limited, but you should use it. However much you've got, you should use it. You tell me how you're going to tell people they should use a non-existent power. It exists.
The idea is what bugs you. And if the idea bugs you enough, then you'll be motivated to do something about it. But if you're able to just slide the idea onto the shelf and say, well, it's not going to make me any more fuckable, so the hell with it. Chicks like a good drunk now and then. Some kind of bullshit rationalization. Or else maybe you're just kind of done with chicks, and so then you just say, who the fuck cares? Yeah, it makes me comfortable. That's part of the irony.
I always see, to me, people are individual machines, thinking machines, and so what they think, it comes from them. So that's from Gary. I think Gary's had those thoughts, and that's why he tells us he knows humans have those thoughts.
Yeah, this whole conversation is you're having this conversation with a bunch of people who sit there and seem to need an awful lot of maintenance to make it through their life. They can't take life straight. They got to inject a bunch of fantasy notions and you know practical augmentations of their life with chemistry to get through it, so to speak. And yet they'll claim they're doing something brilliant, that their notion, that they're accomplishing something, and it's so important that we keep making average Joes to keep living out the average Joe toad snake cycle of consumption and death. First you fuck somebody and then somebody fucks you, and you all think you're doing something brilliant. No. But that's not.
So this is all on the subject of determinism. His video says right there, determinism is fact. He's talking about determinism is fact. And what is his evidence? His evidence is that things turn out shitty. Well, by applying our willpower, we could make things turn out less shitty. And you can experiment with this, you guys. You can try in your life. You have a shitty experience. Think about, what could I have done to make it less shitty? I could have left. I could have told him. I could have kicked him out. I could have done this. And then try those things the next time things get shitty. See if you can make it less shitty. You might not find you can make it less shitty, but I assure you, through the help of other people's experiences, that you can sometimes make it less shitty. And you should keep trying to figure out how you could make it less shitty, because then it gets less shitty. But if you don't think your willpower can make it less shitty, then you'll never have that idea, right? And you'll just accept it as shitty, and you'll make it shitty.
The subject. The subject isn't the fact that life is futile and stupid. But the point is that they are negating determinism because the determinism sort of adds up to that logically. You have to take our origins for what they are, and you have to take the mechanism for what it is, which is just a hunger mechanism. The hungers aren't from some legitimate place. They aren't created by some supercomputer that says, well, what's the best thing I can do, and what's the greatest thing I can create? Oh, some kind of desperate need. Some kind of foolish notion that I have to live another day because whatever Miss Charming Pussy might be fall into my lap somehow. It's you know,
To me, this is a part of Gary saying that the penis is so awesome to have. The penis, having the penis, and how awesome the penis seems to be when it gets excited, when it has that lucky chances of getting excited. Living for that is ultimately uneventful for the individual, other than the impact of ending up with kids and finding out what the fuck. It is for the individual's personal intellectual and personal stimulation. It's a distraction because you have to think about someone else, and I think that's a great thing. Um, it deserves to be powerful and distract our attention, but it's what leads to what Gary's talking about. It's what leads to this preoccupation of calculating everything, to get a little bit of ass. And you can use your willpower to redirect yourself to your other hobbies. And as you mature, generally by the time you get to Gary's age, I think you'll have figured out, you know what, I like my model trains better than going to the bar and getting ass. Now Gary, he's decided, I don't want to go out. It's not worth going out and trying to get any. But he's still obsessed with it. And it's like by now, get obsessed with your lasers and start worrying about the ass. Did I say start? A 40 and slip because, the intellectual point was stop. But Gary needs to get out of the house. He needs to get back in the world. He needs to just face those anxieties, not worry about if it costs him his disability check, and just do it.
it's that backdrop that they're running from, and then they're using this kind of a baby notion of reality where on so many levels it's just nonsense. We know computers aren't affected by quantum irregularities. We know they can do their thing over and over and over again, and they're not going to do anything different. And Windows will load the software, and this will do that, and this will do.
Well, one, that's not true. Sometimes a computer will malfunction because of such irregularities and cosmic rays and all kinds of stuff. Two, using Windows as an example of something that always boots up is like, what are you even talking about? I mean, if I should be able to use Windows as a proof of non determinism, as a matter of fact, it defies belief how non deterministic Microsoft Windows is. And the fact that you run it shows you're a loser with a U.
Do that. And we know the only time it breaks is because something breaks it, because an error gets injected.
Yeah, Microsoft did.
It's not a magical break. It's not a random break. It's a break caused by something, an error caused by something. And we function the same way. In this level of the universe, even if this fairy tale of the magical, uncertain factor or something actually existed, which there's no evidence it actually exists, that's just the made up part. We can't see it, we don't have a videotape, so they decide they can make up any story they want to. So because we don't have a videotape of the actual story, they can go ahead and make up their silly matrix stories or their multi.
No, the evidence. No, look. The basis for saying that we have this isn't to Gary, he can't get it. But to the rest of you, the reason we have this story of willpower having an effect in the world is because that's our experience of life, right? In the all of these frames, it looks like you're in a place and you have to make a decision. Do you want to go left or right? You are standing in front of a cabin. Do you want to go north, south, or east? You can't go west. There's a cliff there that you are unable to climb. So, do you want to go to these? Every frame has a decision in it. That's the evidence that for the claim that there are decisions. And having accepted that we make those decisions, as you do, you're bitching at Heithel today. He's a different kind of idiot because he doesn't get that we make these decisions and they matter. Those are the evidence that there's decisions. And that's the same evidence that you're actually making decisions, that you actually have a choice, that it matters whether you try. Right? We're arguing whether it matters if you try. And it does matter if you try. To say that it doesn't matter if you try is like, look, just accept where you are in life and that you tried exactly hard enough to get there from where you started. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, keep trying. And if you do like it, actually, keep trying to keep it. Because nothing is just settles in and is that way forever. So either way, you have reason to keep trying, and your stupid argument is that there's no point in trying. Fuck you for that. People need to try.
Versus or some other fake bullshit. Um, when the simple answer is that yeah, we just can't see the mechanisms that are causing the effect, and but the mechanisms are dependable and reliable, and just because their math is allowed to use infinities and insanely improbable events and all of that stuff, and not make a total mess. The fact is, none of that stuff ever happens. And if you did the experiment to see if there was any of those things ever did happen, you'd never see them happen.
Well, you do see them happen. For example, the tunneling microscope, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As a matter of fact, photons going through glass is a quantum effect that you see. So you do see these unlikely events.
So they're just mathematical fudge. It's a little game they play. Yeah, the math is 99.99999% correct. But what makes it correct is the fact that it's creating this 1% of fudge that's totally unnecessary because it doesn't really exist. Photons don't go to Pluto. The ones between me and this camera, it goes through the little lens, the little aperture, and it gets confused for a little while. Well, that confusion doesn't mean it goes to Pluto, even though the math says it's a possibility. No, it's not a possibility. It's never going to happen. The bear's hair is never going to pop out of the asphalt on 42nd Street. It's not going to happen. The oak tree the acorn is not going to grow into an elephant. Not
The sun will not become the moon. Thus, determinism.
going to happen. So anyway, Pyrrho tells this video determinism is stupid, and then Endicott makes a video basically saying, "Oh yes, that's a very great video because let's all just pretend we don't know the truth," and that's what they.
Well, and Anna Kanavad is no ally of mine. I mean, we get along okay because we both take the conversation for what it is. But as far as our positions, they're always on different sides of everything. So, I mean, that endorsement practically proves I must be correct. It's like me and a guy very different from me. We both agree. I guess, Gary, you must be wrong. No, I'm just kidding. You're wrong.
They want to live on. They want to live on an evasion of the fact that we really do know the true story. We don't need Hansel and Gretel anymore, the three bears, or the three blind mice, or the three pigs, or we don't need Zeus, and we don't need all the Greek gods, and we don't need all the Christian gods, and we don't need the Muslim gods.
I felt like bad mouthing Ephilism, but then I think Forever Will Films, and I like the version she's carrying along. So can't trash that. Can't. What is this? It's a problem in my brain.
And we don't need any of this bullshit. And it's all just bullshit. We don't need numerology and channeling and whatever, flat Earth truther nonsense.
Right, because the idea that we need to try, we got to try. People, everybody, whatever it is, you got to try. Try, see how you do, and then don't ignore how it turns out. Pay attention to how it turns out, and then take that into account with what you try next. We need to do that. That's not like saying we need to channel spirits. Is it? No. I think you're getting the you're projecting.
You just don't need all these fake, phony answers because the truth is detectable. It's there. It's knowable. And we
Then
don't
why
have to
don't
be
you know it?
foolish. We can be intelligent and accept that truth. And we could argue about whether there's something to make out of this intelligence thing, this problem solver,
What's
in
funny
the
is
sense
he
of,
denies
is there any real
the
problem
evidence of
that we
modern
help create,
physics because he
solve?
doesn't like it.
Does life solve a problem?
Gary ignores the evidence of modern physics because he doesn't like it. But he's like, we could admit the truth, but I don't like this one.
Besides the problems it creates? Do we cure any disease we didn't cause? Maybe that's a valid argument. I don't think so, but I'm just saying maybe if you want to argue that, but don't evade it with a fantasy and a fairy tale. Your little boogeyman behind the tree that you're always going to use as an excuse. I have to have a gun because the boogeymans, they hide behind trees. Sasquatches, they've been seen all over the place. Yeah, you know,
Here he's projecting about his view on immigrants,
quit using these fake excuses. To have
about
your hope
immigrants.
and your um, and rationalizations and justifications for the preposterously expensive game you're playing with other people's welfare. Quit evading the obvious maliciousness.
I played this game with my own welfare. Now, because I had kids, other people's welfare were also involved, but I, I mean, I wish I could have controlled those faiths. And I wish I would have done more of control that I could do. And I thought, well, you shouldn't control other people's fates. You have to trust them. And still, I'm me, right? It doesn't matter. There were people in generations before me and after me. I mean, we're talking about me. I'm using my will to try to make things better, right? Like Gary used to do, I'm pretty sure, some political activism trying to get IRV. Maybe he never did. Maybe he just always talked bullshit. I'm pretty sure he went down and was one of those people that harangued the county council or the city council or the whatever they call them, Hobbitville in Hamlets in New Jersey, in wealthy New Jersey. We try to make things better with our ability to try. You're telling me there's no ability to try, that the ability to try isn't really a thing, right? Which makes you a super asshole. Because there's people out there that just have to give up. They would like to try, but it just seems like they have to give up. And you're telling them, well, trying isn't a real thing. No, thank you.
Of your sadism and your lack of regard for the pain you
No,
cause with
you're a
your
sadist. You're saying that they're in a terrible situation. They shouldn't try to change that. That makes you a sadist. This guy over here. Oop, I pointed at me. I'm a sadist. Oh, Jesus. I have to let this go, I guess. Let's just do it this
take
way.
responsibility
Go for
for it.
it.
Own it in some kind of honest way. Don't sit there and evade it with this fake excuse that, oh, well, the universe is mysterious and we could be fulfilling all kinds of magical purposes and we could be doing all kinds of magical things and we could be here for all kinds of magical intentions. We're supposed to, you know, we're supposed to wait for the giant planetoid to come blow us up, and then the fifth element chick will, shoot a ray beam up there, and so we'll have to be here and we'll have to do all this stuff so we can save the day. They're just living fake fantasy lives. They're coating it with such a contrived, so artificial a sweetener. That they're mixing into this shit recipe to justify baking this crap, this toxic dish of pain for no gain.
This is a waste
Just
of
to
time. Let's go.
go down the hole.
Let's go a little bit closer.
The old staircase, a new dimension of evolution, and now what's evolving are ideas
Yes.
and understanding, knowledge bases, and
Yes, understanding
I think
knowledge base.
there's enough data, enough facts to have the trial and present the evidence that intelligence doesn't have anything to do but solve problems. That's the only function, that's the only use it can possibly have. And the truth is,
You know what? Fuck it. Let's end on a positive note. I agree. I agree with it, what he said there. And what he said there obviously involves using your will and trying. Trying. Trying means using your will to try. It doesn't mean you'll succeed. It means trying. The will is trying. Is it possible to try? Can people try things? Yeah. Yeah, they can. They could try things. They can try things. Gary, they can try. Try. You need to try. And you know what? If you were put in a situation where you really had to try again, I'm sure you would try. And I have a feeling that you would shine at that time, that you would succeed at trying. And that your problem right now is you haven't really had to try for a while. Seriously, try. Try something. Just try. For fuck's sake, try.